I faked the moon landing with Nano Banana from Google to show you the incredible potential the system has for misinformation in the wrong hands. This is covered in my most recent article for Fast Company. I'll show you exactly how I did it. So if you don't know, Google's Nano Banana is their new system for basically editing images using AI. And whereas other companies have focused on creating new images with AI, this is very powerful because you can actually take an existing image and edit it without any photoshopping skills and almost instantaneously and basically completely for free. So a lot of examples have shown kind of cute uses of the technology. This is one I made where I put my dog Lance, this is a real photo of him, into a street scene filled with bananas in Paris, which is not in fact real, but it looks quite good. Another example is I took my own professional headshot and I put myself on a beach in Maui, which as you can see is quite accurate. Then I put myself on Mount Everest. It looks, pretty good except for the fact that I'm still wearing my Travis Matthew polo in probably sub-freezing temperatures. So not super accurate, although maybe I would do that if I was climbing Mount Everest. So these are, again, kind of fun examples. But I wanted to show how this technology could potentially be used for misinformation or disinformation. So I took a look at something that happened last year where then presidential candidate Donald Trump accused then presidential candidate Kamala Harris of using AI to fake a campaign rally crowd photo. This is the crowd photo that was allegedly faked. Pretty much all of the reputable analysis showed that this was in fact a real photo. But I was wondering, could I make essentially a fake version of it using Nano Banana? So I fed the original, a real one in here. I asked it to create a version of it with a much smaller crowd, and here's what it made. Again, quite realistic. You could see this being spread around on social media. And at the time that was happening, people saying, oh, here's the original. It was only about 200 people. They edited the crowd in. Again, here's the real photo. Here's the fake from Nano Banana. Probably it could be disproven, but, maybe it would influence the news cycle if it could be put out quickly enough. But finally, I turned my attention to faking the moon landing. So I took a real NASA photo. This is Buzz Aldrin on the moon. And I fed it into Nano Banana and asked it to imagine what it would look like if this photo had been faked in a period-appropriate photo studio. And I think what it created here is pretty impressive. So this is the fake photo created by Nano Banana. And as you can see in here, it has basically captured the real-life scene. This is the real photo. This is its version of what it would look like to fake that very, very accurately. We've got the same lean forward here that Buzz has in the real one. The exact same positioning of the American flag, the same shadows on the flag, this prop version of the moon lander, and even that same big shadow we see in the background of the real photo. And then it's imagined all the details around him. And I think this is very, very accurate. Again, the period-appropriate photo studio. So everybody's wearing period-appropriate clothing. This is NASA in the 60s, so it has period-appropriate, made this all men. And you can see they've got the fake lunar regolith all over the ground here. We've got a backdrop there. And I'm a professional photographer, so I can vouch for the fact that the lighting here is pretty accurate. We have this giant key light right above Buzz, kind of simulating the atmosphere-free sun on the moon there. One of the things about lighting on the moon is that it is very, very stark. There's no atmosphere to filter the light. So this above him, basically you would have the sun, and so this giant key light is standing in for that. We've got all these different lighting instruments creating the fake shadows, like a big spot up here. And then even the positioning of this person, who is presumably the pretend photographer in this image, is accurate to what the angle would be. So if you were shooting this, you would be positioned basically right off to the right of the frame and a little bit behind, and that's exactly where it's placed the photographer. It also put a cinematographer over there with a period-appropriate film camera, presumably because this was also captured on film and in reality, and so this is like the person creating the video version of it, as it were. I'd say the only inaccuracy in here is that it did put the Earth in the background, and the real photo does not have that. So that's the only tell that this is AI generated, really. And you could see how if somebody spread this around on the internet and said, discovered, we looked in the archives and found that the moon landing was faked, and here's proof. There's a certain contingent of people who would definitely believe it based on this image. So I also decided I would go a little further back in history and fake the original instance of flight at Kitty Hawk from the Wright brothers. So this is a real photo of that event, and I asked Nano Banana to imagine what it would look like if it had been faked. So they put this, I put this little like wheeled stand in here, again, period appropriate. The concept being that, this could have been basically pushed on a stand, and then this could have been masked out in the dark room to create the photo of the Wright brothers flying a plane. Probably didn't actually happen that way. In fact, I'm almost certain it didn't actually happen that way. However, if you were to fake it, this is what Nano Banana feels it would look like, and I think it's probably right. So what is Google doing to protect against this? The answer is quite a lot. They're actually embedding, for one thing, a physical watermark in each of the images that Nano Banana creates. And that's useful for just sort of casual uses, like it shows up online. You can see the little diamond and go, okay, that's a fake. Obviously, this could be removed fairly easily by anybody with Photoshop or, just basic ability to crop a photo. So what they're doing instead is they're embedding what's called a synth ID into the photos themselves. And that means they change up individual pixels in the photo in a way that's invisible to humans, but it actually embeds a code into the image that Google software can read. And that traces the image back to Gemini and Nano Banana, and even potentially to the specific person, the specific user who created that individual photo. So that actually is robust. It travels with the image. You can't really scrape that metadata out because it's stored in the image's pixels. Even if you screenshot it or something like that, then that synth ID should stay. So I think Google has done a really good job of protecting the images. But now that Nano Banana is out there, somebody's going to come along and create a copycat version of it that will do comparable image editing, probably with very few of these safeguards. So the bottom line is, if you can fake the moon landing in basically a single click, you got to be careful of anything you see online. Don't trust any photo that you see. Verify, go back to the source, trace its provenance, as we call it in the photo industry. Who created it? Are they reputable? Do you believe that they actually made the photo and that they did it accurately, or is somebody trying to pull something over on you? Because again, if you can summon up something that's this good in terms of a fake, or this good in terms of a fake in such a short time, then it's something that you really just can't trust anything you see online anymore. We know this technology is out there. So believe nothing, verify everything. That's the message I'm taking away from my own experiments with Nano Banana. If you found this helpful, please do like and subscribe. It really helps me out.